Hi everyone, Quiveen here from the comfort of my kitchen. In today's video, we are going to take a look at the early morning for late July, particularly at the planets. We don't have to wait until early in the morning to see Saturn. Saturn is going to be right next to the moon here on the night of the 24th, morning of the 25th. So they're going to look really nice right next to each other before the moon moves further away over the course of the weekend. We'll need to keep pushing forward to see more of the planets. And we really do need to look over in the east because we are still quite close to summertime. So we can see Jupiter and Mars here. They're not rising directly over the east. They're rising in the east-northeast, so a little further north than where you might expect. We'll keep pushing forward just a little bit. We'll start to get a little of the glow of sunrise here as early as 3 o'clock. We are still quite close to summertime, so the glow of the sun will be interfering reasonably early. But here at 3 o'clock, it's not incredibly bright, and the planets are reasonably high in the sky. If you watched one of my recent videos, you'll know that Uranus is just out there, kind of making a triangle with the Pleiades and Mars just over here. Of course, the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters, they are going to look pretty faint from the city, so 1 or 2 sisters rather than 7. If you follow the path of the ecliptic from the sunrise down there through Jupiter, Mars, Uranus, and up towards the Moon and Saturn, just around here is where we'll have Neptune. Of course, Uranus is barely visible to the naked eye. Neptune certainly isn't visible to the naked eye. But Jupiter and Mars, they're easy to see even from the city. And although we have looked in this direction a little bit recently, I haven't given a good close-up of these planets. And these are 2 of the best planets to go and look at multiple nights in a row. If you take a look at Saturn over the course of multiple different nights, you will, with a good enough telescope, get to see Saturn's moons changing position, but that's so much easier with Jupiter. I'm going to get rid of the names so they don't get in the way. We know roughly what moons we're looking at here anyway, the Galilean moons. And if we move across a few days, there's 4 of them just there on the morning of the 27th. With a little bit more magnification, it's a little bit clearer. You can also see that that one's orange, so that one must be Io. There we go, with all of the lava. So even with a reasonably small telescope or a big pair of binoculars, you can see those moons changing position. And if you have a little bit more magnification, then you should see some of the detail on the upper atmosphere of Jupiter. It's not really Jupiter's surface. So even here, it looks really small, but we can see the stripes just barely. And I think the Great Red Spot isn't visible, but we'll have to zoom in a little bit closer to check. It is not. So of course, a view with this much detail takes an incredibly big telescope. Let's pull back just a little bit to about here. There's the Great Red Spot. I hope you can see it just down there on the lower left. So the Great Red Spot is such a big feature of Jupiter, bigger than the planet Earth, that it is visible. As long as you can see the stripes of Jupiter, there's a good chance you'll notice if one of them has this bulge on it. If you don't get to see the Great Red Spot, try again the next day and the next day. If it's missing for 2 days, it should be visible on the 3rd. A little tricky to see there at the side. We'll go another couple of days and it's facing straight at us. So this is just the very end of the month. So even between one night and the next, you can visibly see the difference on Jupiter's upper atmosphere, or in Jupiter's upper atmosphere, even with, well, it's easier with a more powerful telescope, but it is doable with medium-sized telescopes. With smaller telescopes, you've at least got a chance to see those moons. So hopefully I'll get a chance to demonstrate with a couple of telescopes. But there is another planet in the sky, the red planet Mars, right underneath the Pleiades, just above the V of the Hyades. Mars is another good planet to take a closer look at, as long as your telescope is good enough to show some of the surface features. And you do need, at least a medium-sized telescope, somewhere around 6 inches at least wide, if not a little wider, maybe 8 inches across, 200 millimeters, 175 millimeters, something like that. You do need a pretty big aperture. But Mars does have quite a high contrast between these paler reddish orange areas and these darker areas here, presumed to be old volcanic activity, as well as the ice caps. The ice caps really stand out against the blackness of space and the redness of the planet. If we go through a couple of days here, you'll see that change. So now we're looking at more of a pale area of Mars, the Tharsis region with the Tharsis volcanoes and Olympus Mons, Vallis Marinaris, the Mariner Valley is there as well. And then we can see over here, it's mostly these darker regions. So by going through a couple of days, and that's all the way into August, but by going through a couple of weeks at least, there will be changes to what you can see on the surface of Mars, but you do need a reasonably good telescope. So, even here, we're still seeing some of the details on the surface of Mars. Stuff is getting resolved, even if it looks very small. So if we go through a few days, yeah, we can see that shift in color just about. Mars's moons are tiny. They're the size of asteroids, so they are incredibly tough to catch. And when I say they're the size of asteroids, I mean normal asteroids, not giant things like Ceres. So we know that Uranus is just out there, but we're not really going to see it with our eyes. Definitely not from a city sky. The Pleiades are there. They're a reasonable target for binoculars, as are the Hyades, though they are a little lower in the sky. Uranus should be here. Neptune should just be there. And then, of course, there is Saturn. Now, Saturn is very close to the moon in the sky. It will be even closer next month, but that extra light of the moon can affect your view. So, of course, with stellarium, as we zoom in, the moon goes out of view, it kind of gets cancelled out, whereas in the real sky, that light of the moon will still be bathing the area around you and your telescope. So here we can see 5 of Saturn's moons. Presumably, this is with a reasonably large telescope. We've got a good clear view of Titan, but not a crazy big telescope. Not even something, 8 or 9 inches across, because that will often start to show you Saturn's rings. Now, we're looking at the rings almost edge on here. They're not going to look their best at this time of year. You can see they look very, very thin. As we move around the sun and as Saturn moves around the sun, both the Earth and Saturn are tilted a little bit with respect to the sun. So we'll see these rings at a slightly different angle when we reach other parts of our year, but also when Saturn reaches other parts of its year. Saturn, its tilt needs to change with respect to us, so its motion around the sun definitely matters. We've gone a few days back there, so let's bring it forward. And let's move out to the countryside, because, of course, everything looks a bit better in the countryside. And if you are taking a closer look at anything, I have to suggest going out where it's dark to give you the best possible view. Now, there's still that little bit of glow of sunrise, but, especially if we are taking a closer look with the telescope, we'll move a little bit darker. It's not going to get too dark with the moon so close to full, but let's start having a look firstly at Jupiter, and we'll start with a very big pair of binoculars, hopefully. There we go. So, very big pair of binoculars. There's Jupiter's moons. See them changing over a couple of different days. Fantastic. We'll go to a smaller binoculars, and yeah, you can definitely see a little bit of a bulge there for the moon, so not too bad. We'll come all the way down to a telescope, with a reasonable ocular, nothing crazy. That'll do. And this is a pretty generic basic telescope, and if we go through a few days, you can very clearly see Jupiter's moons changing. This is with no extra Barlow lenses to help. If we add those on, there we go. There's Jupiter's stripes. And if we move back a couple of days, well, the moon's kind of getting in the way. It's tough to tell, but the great red spot's definitely in there somewhere. We'll go up to a slightly larger telescope, or we'll go up to a significantly larger telescope. There we go. C11, close to 11 inches aperture. That's usually what the numbers mean. And there's the great red spot. That's in the past, so let's try sometime in the future. 24th, that's pretty soon. There we go on the 26th. And there's the great red spot. Even if you waited a little bit longer for Jupiter to rise a little higher in the sky, that spot would move across the surface, giving you a chance to see it a little bit better. And while we're looking in this region, if we're using a telescope, you can see that as we start to zoom in here, there is lots of faint, fuzzy, nebulous shapes. So there's a lot of interesting things to see in this direction. But let's hop over to Mars. So again, this is with a reasonably big telescope. And if we go through a few days, it's tough to tell. Once you go through a few weeks, you can start seeing that change in the part of Mars that we're seeing. And we can see some bright dots there for Mars's moons, but seeing any detail in them would be incredibly difficult. And of course, with a less powerful lens helping you, or if we get rid of those Barlow lenses, you're not going to see too much with Mars, even with a reasonably big telescope. Mars is close to us, but Mars is small. And we can see here with big binoculars, we're definitely not seeing any surface details on Mars. Neptune, Uranus, in fact, let's bring up the names of the planets. Yep, there's Uranus. And if we come over here, there's Neptune just next to Saturn, bringing it back to the 25th. And there we go. Neptune will be just past the moon on the opposite side to Saturn. of course, with all of that extra light in the sky, it's going to be very, very difficult to really get a good look at it. If we take a look up here to the Pleiades, while we're using a binoculars or a telescope, there's a fantastic view of the Seven Sisters. They always look great. But there are a few nice nebulae over in this direction as well. So we can see a little bit of color there. B207, this is, I think, the Baby Eagle Nebula. With a bigger telescope, you can get to see some of the nice colors there. Our view through a very big pair of binoculars would be comparable to our view through a smaller telescope. So just looking at this region over here, we can see there are some really nice nebulae to be seen. I believe these are the tadpoles, these dark nebulae, backlit by this nice bluish color. So there's lovely things in the sky in the morning over the next couple of days and really well into next month. These are only going to get easier to see as we move forward. So you know now, and you can prepare to take a look. The next time you get a chance to head into the countryside, this is where you should be pointing your telescope. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed taking a closer look at those planets, and I hope you get a chance to do so in the real sky yourself. If you did enjoy this video, then please do like it. And if you'd like to read a little bit about these things, you can head to my website, queebeanscontent.ie. If you'd like to see more from my channel, it would help if you subscribed. And whether you subscribe or not, whether you like the video or not, whether you go to my website or not, and whether or not you actually go outside to see these things, I hope that I'll see you back here for the next video.